He was born into a world of magic, but he didn't have any magical skills of his own. So he decided he was going to become the strongest magician by taking out every monster in the dungeon with his sword. The story starts with this dude named Will, living in a world where magic is like the Holy Grail. But damn, my man got the short end of the stick because he ain't got no magical talent. Still, they enroll his ass in one of the fancy-ass academies. But the problem is, how the hell is a dude with zero magic gonna make it in a university like this? He decides to tackle this problem by perfecting his skills with the sword and heads off to high-level dungeons, regularly scraping with giant beasts shooting magic spells at him, which he dodges and uses his incredible speed and skills with his sword to utterly stunt on the monster and slice it in half with a single slash. That was just a warm-up, though, as he realizes he's gotta handle a bunch more of these creatures if he wants to make it out of that dungeon alive. But that ain't no biggie for him because he's done it plenty of times before. The next morning, he drags his tired ass to class, where a professor named Edward teaching them about the basics of alchemy and how to produce sulfur, which helps in the creation of explosives. Edward notices Will nodding off in the back, so he calls his name, but unaware, Will keeps snoring till Edward shouts his damn name. Will jumps up all surprised and shit. Edward calls him to the front and tells him to show the class what they just learned. Ain't no escape for Will. He gotta step up in front of everybody and demonstrate. Edward tells him it's super easy, and all he's gotta do is produce some flames and sulfur will be created. Will's hands are shaking as he pulls out his wand and starts chanting the spell for flames, but to his disappointment, not even a damn spark comes out of that wand. The whole class starts laughing at him like he's some kind of stand-up comedian. But the teacher shuts them up real quick. Edward looks at Will with disgust, wondering how the hell a theory genius like him can flop so hard in practical magic. And he wonders how Will even got selected for this academy. Then out of nowhere, this fiery-haired dude named Shin whips out his wand, all confident-like, and aims it at the stuff on the desk. He busts out his flame magic, straight up torching everything and creating sulfur, while poor Will hides behind the fire like a scaredy cat. Edward tells Shin not to do any shit like that without permission, as he immediately creates a huge crystal of sulfur with his magic spell. He starts preaching about how magic is the most important thing in this world, and how mages are straight up heroes. According to him, if you want to survive at this academy, you need to be damn good at magic, and fools who have no idea how to control magic should simply leave the academy. After class, Shin and his crew walk over to Will, trying to embarrass the dude. They say he can only handle weak-ass dungeon monsters. But then Will's childhood friend Kali steps in like a boss, telling Shin to back off, as he's much nicer than him and his group. Shin gets a little flustered but brushes it off, talking about how kindness and hard work won't mean shit without magic. Then he bounces with his goons. Will and Kali start walking together, and she tells him not to stress too much, but Will's used to this bullying crap, as he looks up at the sky and says it looks beautiful. Turns out a few years back, humans were trapped in darkness, scared of some evil spirits casting shadows all over the damn world. But luckily, 5 badass mages known as the Mage Vander stepped up and fought those evil spirits. They kicked their asses and freed the humans, showing them what the real sky looked like. These mages were known as the Mage Vander, and that title now passes down to the most powerful mages of this world. Will remembers a promise he made to his childhood friend Overpowered, who used to read him storybooks about the Mage Vander, and they made a pact with each other that they'd become the Mage Vander one day. Overpowered kept her end of the bargain, as she had crazy talent and rose up the ranks quickly, becoming the youngest Mage Vander in history, and started living in the Divine Tower, while Will's just barely hanging on, far from average, trying to hold on to that dream and promise. Later that same day, Will rolls up to meet Professor Wagner, but damn, this dude starts straight up yelling when he finds out that this Harry Potter copycat went solo into level 7 in the dungeons. Wagner warns him that one day he's gonna end up dead. Will drops to the ground and apologizes like crazy, but asks if he'll get credit for it or not. Wagner lets out a sigh and tosses him 2 credits for his troubles. Will starts celebrating, but then Wagner asks him if he's still clinging on to that Vander dream. Wagner explains that if Will wants even a tiny chance of becoming a Vander, he gotta get into the Upper Institute. To do that, he needs a boatload of credits in writing, spellwork, and fighting. But if my man can't use spells, he ain't getting no spellwork credits. So no matter how many credits he racks up in the other areas, he won't qualify. Will says no matter what, he's gonna try. So Wagner tells him he gotta graduate first, but as far as he knows, Will needs 4 more credits by the end of the week. This news shocks the hell out of Will, and he starts hunting down monsters that can give him those 4 credits. Wagner mentions this monster called Baskerville on the 6th floor that ain't been defeated yet. Will gets all hyped up and hugs his teacher, but little does he know, Shin overhears the whole thing and decides to hit up the dungeons himself. He wants to kill that monster before Will does so he can boot him out of the academy for lacking credits. Later that evening, Will enters the damn cave with his sidekick Kiki, telling her to use her nose to sniff out the monster. But Kiki ain't feeling it because the last time when Will fought a Baskerville, she got straight up roasted by its breath. On the other side, Shin and his crew step into the 6th floor, all determined to find that beast before Will does, so he gets kicked out. One of his lackeys with some pink feminist hair asks if it's a good idea for just 3 mages to venture in, but Shin shoots him a mean look, claiming he's one of the best mages in the class and can handle it. He's walking with a bunch of racist angry thoughts in his head and tells his crew to use their scan magic to track down the beast's location. When suddenly, this massive beast pops up and straight up decks the spiky-haired dude so hard, he becomes a freaking pancake on the wall. Shin's in disbelief, frozen in place, while the feminist starts shrieking like a banshee out of sheer terror. Will hears the screams and springs into action, hauling ass towards the noise because he's worried someone's getting messed up. He turns a corner and spots Shin on the ground, blasting fire at the monster. But this creature ain't phased one bit. Will recognizes it as the evil sentinel, a super tough monster worth 10 credit scores. He wonders what the hell it's doing in this dungeon level. He realizes that Shin's magic ain't jack against this beast. It just brushes off those flame blasts and keeps coming for the scared shitless boy. Will considers helping him out, but then he remembers all the times this jerk mocked him for no reason. That makes him want to shut his eyes and pretend he didn't see a thing. But then he thinks about Alferia, who always said he was the kindest person she knew. She even gave him a pair of glasses as a gift. That reminder brings him back to his true self, and he puts on the glasses just as the monster raises its weapon to finish off that cocky brat once and for all. Will blocks the monster's attack just in time, pushing it away and saving Shin's sorry ass. Meanwhile, back at the academy, Edward barges into Wagner's room and demands that he send his familiar straight into the dungeons. Turns out, Shin and his lackey snuck into the 6th floor without permission. Wagner realizes what's going down but tells Edward not to sweat it, because Will's on that same floor too. Back in the damn dungeon, Will keeps going head to head with the monster, blocking its attacks, dodging like a boss, and slicing off a finger with a swift slash to its arm. The monster gets all pissed off and tries to strike back, but Will's moving through the air like a freaking eagle, dodging that shit. Finally, the monster manages to land a hit on Will, but my man blocks it with his sword. He gets blasted back, and the monster starts chucking rocks at him, but Will slices right through them like it's nothing. He's jumping all around that monster, landing on its back and straight up stabbing it through the neck. The monster starts flailing around while Shin's jaw is on the damn floor witnessing Will's skills. Meanwhile, back at the academy, Edward is also losing his mind seeing this. While Wagner says Will is an outcast because he ain't got magic, but his strength is superhuman for a mage. Dude's tough as hell like a dwarf, and his brain's so damn sharp. He can learn an attack pattern just by glancing at someone. They watch as Will chops off the monster's arm like it's nothing, then casually strolls over to this giant-ass sword on the ground. Will effortlessly picks up that beast of a blade, and Wagner tells Edward that in a world full of magic and wizards, Will's the only damn warrior. The monster shoots an energy beam from its mouth, but Will blocks it with the giant sword, then slashes the hell out of that monster, slicing it up into tiny pieces that drop to the ground lifeless. Will walks over and helps Shin up, and the dude's still in shock. Edward's mind is blown, and he's yelling at Wagner, saying a person without magic can never surpass a magician. Then he storms out of the room all pissed off. Wagner knows Edward's hella mad right now, but he also knows that Will's story is going to become a freaking legend, as he will turn the whole damn world upside down by making Wistoria the only place where a wand and a sword meet. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to not miss the next part.